When Cristiano Ronaldo exploded onto the scene in 2004, he was far from the player we know today. He was a scrawny 18-year-old with blonde highlights dancing around defenders at a superhuman level. He had a level of electricity that is maybe found once in a decade, but that was about all to his game. He was in no way the most complete player of all time that we saw a decade later, resulting in his goal tally being practically non-existent. But there's potentially another reason behind this. For the past couple of years, the matter of whether young Cristiano Ronaldo was a midfielder has been a topic of debate. It's been an excuse Ronaldo fans have pleaded whenever his goal ratio has been compared to Lionel Messi's. But is there any actual truth to this? Now, Ronaldo broke into Sporting's first team at 17 years of age, 100% due to his dribbling ability. He contributed just a total of 5 goals in the entirety of the 2002-2003 season, but this version of him was not designed to be a goal scorer. In Sporting's tactics, he played either out left or out right in a 4-2-3-1, where his job was to get to the byline and cross to Jardel, who was the poacher. Now, unlike the modern day where everyone knows everything about wonder kids from all over the world, in 2003, a young Portuguese winger who wasn't even a full-time starter wasn't going to be known by many players or fans. But that all changed when Manchester United agreed to a friendly against Sporting as part of the pursuit to sign Ronaldo. As Mikel Silvestre put it, at the start, no one had even heard of Ronaldo, but by the end, everyone knew about him. As a left winger, he would terrorize the entirety of Manchester United's back line. This kid had everything. He had speed, he had vision, he had unbelievable skill. He left our defenders in the dust. He tormented Fabian. He performed astonishing tricks with the ball, then shrugged as if to say, oh, that's nothing. Sporting would win 3-1, but that hardly mattered. The entirety of Manchester United was now fixated on this kid, and just a week later, United would wrap up the transfer, beating out Barcelona and Arsenal, and agreeing to a record transfer fee for a teenager. Now, Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United played either a traditional 4-4-2 or a 4-5-1, with Van Nistelrooy as a lone striker, or Van Nistelrooy and Solskjaer or Forlan in a strike partnership. In this tactical approach, Cristiano was signed to replace David Beckham as the right winger, but not quite the winger we think of today, such as Vinny Jr. or Bukayo Saka. To start, he was a right-footed right winger, which in the modern day has gone borderline extinct because, quite simply, deploying wingers on the opposite flank to their dominant position is just more effective in 95% of modern tactics. Secondly, these wide players were classified and played much more in the midfield line rather than in the forward line. Think of Pavel Nedved or Luis Figo, or the player he replaced, David Beckham. They won the Ballon d'Or, in Beckham's case finished second, despite scoring 14, 14, and 8, respectively. Ronaldo, who wouldn't quite win the Ballon d'Or that year, would still make it into the UEFA Team of the Year, despite scoring 6 goals. All of them were so-called traditional wingers, or wide midfielders, who played quite deep, where their job was to move the ball from the midfield third into the final third, or in the final third, beat their man to the byline and cross it in, rather than cutting in and taking a shot themselves. With that being said, don't think that Ronaldo was Toni Kroos or Xavi. He was never that central midfielder who could orchestrate the game. He just played in the midfield line. What made Ronaldo so great, and the reason he was in the Team of the Year, was of course his electrifying dribbling, the reason he was signed. He averaged 4.41 dribbles per 90 minutes, which if we place that into the 22-23 Premier League, it would earn him a very comfortable #1 spot among qualified players. So yes, Cristiano played as a wide right midfielder in his first 2 professional seasons, and he would continue to play there in 04-05 and 05-06, where his goal tally would slightly increase, but not to anywhere near elite levels. Well, he was still an absolute show, averaging 4.43 dribbles per game in those 2 seasons, almost as much as prime Messi. He would start receiving criticism for his lack of end product and his lack of good decision making in and around the box. He would over dribble there, and when he didn't do that, his shots went all over the place and his crosses were inaccurate. The media labeled him a one-trick pony who was more focused on doing step-overs than actually being prolific. He was still arguably a world-class wide midfielder due to his generational ability at one attribute, but he had to get something else if he wanted to live up to being the David Beckham replacement. In the meantime, Wayne Rooney would steal the show as Manchester United's golden boy over Cristiano. But everything would change in 2006. After a fallout with Ferguson, Ruud van Nistelrooy would leave to join Real Madrid. Then during the 2006 World Cup, Ronaldo got Wayne Rooney sent off, and as Rooney was walking off, Cristiano would infamously wink at the Portuguese bench. Overnight, he had become public enemy #1 in England, despite playing for the biggest club in the country.
I think there's every chance that Wayne Rooney could go back to the Man United training ground and stick one on Ronaldo.
After returning from the cup, Ronaldo declared publicly that the circumstances are not right to be playing in Manchester. In 2 or 3 days, I will decide where to go, and that was it. He was planning on heading off to Valencia. Until Sir Alex Ferguson smoothed things over and he was willing to play for United again. In hindsight, we can only assume he promised Ronaldo something along the lines of, "You're gonna be the main man next season." And as the season kicked off, with the media still bombarding him all day and all night, he silently transformed into the best footballer in the world. He showboated less and dribbled more efficiently. His shooting had increased massively. His decision-making in and around the box had taken a leap. And he was a physical beast. He had moved further up the pitch as well. Van Nistelrooy's departure led to Ronaldo getting far more positional freedom. And while he was still classified as a wide midfielder in a 4-4-2, it would be far from the truth to declare him